Welcome back to You Can Understand Shakespeare. Guys, I have to admit I am a little bit nervous. Or maybe not nervous is the word as much as excited or just aware that this is a big one. Why? Because we are in Act 3, Scene 1 of Hamlet. This is the to be or not to be speech. This is the get thee to a nunnery scene. And after Act 2, Scene 2, which was quite long, it is not quite as lengthy. So let's just hop right into it because the fact of the matter is you can understand Shakespeare. So let's hop to it. Enter King Claudius, Queen Gertrude, Polonius, royal counselor, Ophelia, his daughter, as well as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. All right. And the king says, and can you by no drift of conference get from him why he puts on this confusion? So no drift of conference. If you catch my drift, it's a phrase that we still use. Sort of the no meaning. You get no drift. There's no meaning that's derived from conferencing, from talking with him about why he is putting on, why he's acting in a confusing manner. Grating so harshly all his days of quiet with turbulent and dangerous lunacy. So grating, we know that's like when two things are kind of grinding against each other. And so these days of quiet, just his normal daily life that shouldn't be turbulent. After all, it's peacetime, right? And there's nothing really going on that Claudius knows about because he thinks everything's all good. He's grating it. He's causing harsh sounds with turbulence and lunacy. Rosencrantz will answer. It says he does confess he feels himself distracted. And distracted means literally distracted, but also confused or agitated. But from what cause it will by no means speak. That apostrophe A means he. So he's not going to speak about the cause of his distraction. Guildenstern adds, nor do we find him forward to be sounded. If he's not forward to be sounded, he's not forward to emit the sound of what this cause for his distraction is. But with a crafty madness. So his madness is crafty, meaning it's intentional. There's a method to his madness. It's put on. With a crafty madness keeps aloof, that is sort of removed, far away, when we would bring him on to some confession of his true state, when we try to get him to confess, to reveal what his true state is. Now, one thing about that is you can read this whole sentence, nor do we find him forward to be sounded, but with a crafty madness keeps aloof when we would bring him on to some confession of his true state. You go, I have no idea what he means. What does Shakespeare mean? Why doesn't he speak English? Most of us know most of those words there. A lot of what holds us back from Shakespeare, in addition to the 3 Ps, poetry, performance, and prior knowledge, is also just fear. For some reason, we just look at it and we suddenly forget the language that a lot of us speak. So, not always the case. But in this case, I think so. Queen, did he receive you well? I mean, when you went to him, did he receive you well with good manners? And was he happy to see you? Rosencrantz, most like a gentleman. He gets cut off, but with much forcing of his disposition. So he's forcing his disposition, his mood on us. All right? Rosencrantz says, negard of question, meaning reluctant to offering conversation, but of our demands most free in his reply. So in our demands, our questions of him, he was most free in his responses, how he would speak. Did you assay him to any pastime? And assay, try to persuade. When you assay someone, it's similar to assail, right? It's when you venture forward to try and do something. Madam, it so fell out that certain players we are wrought on the way. So it so fell out, it so happened that certain players, those are the actors, we o'erwrought them, we passed them on the way to the castle. Of these we told him, and there did seem in him a kind of joy to hear of it. They are here about the court, the players, and as I think, they have already ordered this night to play before him. So we saw this last scene where Hamlet has asked the players to put on the murder of Gonzago, and he's going to insert a little scene in which he's going to try and catch the countenance of the king, see if Claudius reacts to seeing Hamlet Sr.'s murder played before him. So he says, okay, well, you ask if there's any pastimes. He seems to be kind of excited about this play. And Polonius is going to add, he says, 'tis most true. So this is true, what Rosencrantz has shared. And he asked me to entreat your majesties to ask you to hear and see the matter, to see the play. King, with all my heart, and it doth much content me to hear him so inclined. So it gives me much contentment. It makes me happy to hear that this is his inclination, that he is he's interested in something, he's excited about something. Good gentlemen, give him a further edge, so give him a further stimulus, and drive his purpose into these delights. So this thing that he's already interested in, make him even more interested in it. And Rosencrantz says, we shall, my lord. And they leave. Sweet Gertrude, leave us too. For we have closely sent for Hamlet hither. Closely sent means privately sent for Hamlet hither. Hither means here. And he, as 'twere by accident, may here affront Ophelia. Affront, just come into confrontation. He's going to meet Ophelia. This is Polonius's plan from earlier in the play. They're now going to do it. He says, her father, Polonius, and myself will so bestow ourselves that seeing unseen, so they themselves will be unseen, but they will see, they're going to spy, because Polonius loves to spy. We may of their encounter frankly judge, and gather by him as he is behaved, if it be the affliction of his love, or know that thus he suffers for. Because remember, right now they're operating under the hypothesis that it is the affliction of his love for her that he suffers for. That's what's driven him mad. Queen says, I shall obey you. And for your part, Ophelia, because keep in mind, Ophelia's been here the entire time. So she addresses Ophelia. And for your part, Ophelia, I do wish that your good beauties be the happy cause of Hamlet's wildness. So I hope your beauty is why he's gone crazy. So shall I hope your virtues will bring him to his wonted way again, to both your honors. So your virtues, doing this kind deed, but also the other habits of goodness within you will bring him to his customary way, to be himself again. And it's going to be an honor to him and an honor to you. So she's very excited. And Ophelia says, Madam, I wish it may. And the queen exits. Polonius says, Ophelia, walk you here. To the king, gracious, meaning your grace. So please you, we will bestow ourselves. So we're going to go hide ourselves away. And now back to Ophelia. Read on this book. So he has a book he gives her. Read on this book that show of such an exercise may color your loneliness. Your lowliness, rather. Lowliness, not loneliness. Lowliness. It's going to show your lowliness. So reading this book is going to show your humility. So it's also going to give you a virtuous or a pious look. So I hear that the book is probably a prayer book or a devotional text. So you sit here and read this. It's going to show how lowly you are, which is a good thing. You want to be humble. It's going to show you to be virtuous. We are oft to blame in this. 'Tis too much proved. It is too much times true in our experience that with devotion's visage and pious action, we do sugar o'er the devil himself. So devotion's visage is your face. So with the face of devotion, that is like devotion to God, devotion to religion, your faith, and with pious, that is holy and reverent action, we sugar over the devil himself. So this is often the case, and we've proven it to be true, that you don't judge a book by its cover, so to speak. That's another way that we might put it. So hide this over, and we're going to this pious action is going to serve us well here. And the king adds, "Oh, 'tis too true." And then he gets his first aside, and we're going to hear King Claudius's private remarks. He says, "How smart a lash that speech doth give my conscience." Something smarts, it's sharp, it hurts. So him saying that he covers over that with piety and devotion, you can sort of hide the devil within. He says that comment did whip his conscience. Well, what would he feel? Why would that apply to him? Maybe because he's acting like a good and benevolent king and man when he has gotten there by means of murder. So he's having a conflict of conscience. He says, the harlot's cheek, a harlot, a sex worker, the harlot's cheek beautied with plastering art, which is plastering art is cosmetic art. So you take a sex worker who's made more beautiful with cosmetics is not more ugly to the thing that helps it. Essentially meaning is not more ugly compared to the artificial beautiful surface that covers it. So harlot's cheek, it is not more ugly. It's more beautiful. So the plastering makes it more ugly. And so this is a type of thing that is it is a thing that Hamlet's going to speak to later. So the harlot's cheek, I just want to make sure I get that right. The harlot's cheek, which is beautified with an ill phrase, a vile phrase that is. So Polonius would have said earlier. Beauty with plastering art is not more ugly to the thing that helps it compared to the artificially beautiful surface that covers it. So if it's not more ugly, it's less ugly. I see. I have fallen into a classic trap, my friends. I've fallen into a classic trap. I cut it off at the line. You don't read Shakespeare to the end of the line, but to the end of the punctuation. The reason why it didn't make sense to me, why I was stuck for a second, was because I didn't read to the punctuation. And part of that is because I was trying to get this footnote that I had here in there, but it cut it off. So he says that the harlot's cheek, beautied with plastering art, is not more ugly to the thing that helps it than is my deed to my most painted word. Okay, so a sex worker who's wearing this cosmetics, and would they be beautiful? He's probably referring to it sort of being like a sort of stereotypical thing. It's like not very beautiful, not very pretty. Type thing, and that is less ugly than my deed to my painted word. I have applied the makeup or the cosmetics of beauty and devotion and piety over my foul deeds, all right? And that's more ugly than the harlot with plastering art. So, hey, take it from me, I'm making these mistakes too, that it is super easy to read to the line, and then you miss and you go, I'm stuck. Why am I stuck? What does this mean? Just keep reading, John. Oh, heavy burden. So, all this lets us know that King Claudius knows what he's done is bad, and he knows that he's a hypocrite, and he's living a lie, and his conscience is afflicting him, instantly making him more complicated of a villain. Polonius says, I hear him coming, that's Hamlet, withdraw, my lord. And the king and Polonius withdraw and hide. They don't leave, they're hidden somewhere, so they're watching. Enter Hamlet. And then we have the most famous Shakespeare line of all time, aside from maybe the balcony scene. But Hamlet enters in and says, to be or not to be, that is the question. And this line is the one that I really hammer home when I'm trying to prove to people that they can understand Shakespeare. Let me ask you a question. Do you know what the words to be means? Yeah, to exist. Great. What about not to be? Do you know what not to be means? Yeah, it means to not exist. That is the question. Do you know what it means to ask if something is a question? It means to say, that's the thing I'm thinking about and wondering about. So, to exist or not to exist, that is what I'm wondering. You know it. It's just maybe more poetic, it's more difficult, or maybe we're just scared. Now, granted, as we go throughout this, there are going to be words that we don't know, and that's okay. That's just prior knowledge. Simple answer is you learn what the word means, and then you understand it. The point is, here, with Shakespeare's probably most famous soliloquy, you can understand it. So don't be nervous. But he enters in to be or not to be. That is the question. Now, it's very interesting to think about. Hamlet is still caught up on the same thing that he's been talking about in Act 1 at Scene 2. When the first thing that we hear, his first aside, his first soliloquy, is that he wishes too sallied flesh would melt, dissolve to dew. Right? Now he's saying, should I exist or should I not exist? Right? He's going to be really dealing with his mortality. That hasn't left him. All of this extra stuff, all this revenge plotting, and this feigned madness and uncovering the corruption of the court, that's all adding on top of it. It's probably making him all the more depressed, believe it or not. And he wondered about this. He says, has the devil just come, who am prone to melancholy already, tricked me to abuse me, to damn me? So he's very much caught up on this life and the next. And absolutely anyone would be. If you meet someone who says, like, hey, I'm from purgatory, you're going to start having a lot of questions about the next life. It naturally makes sense. So he wonders, should I exist or should I not exist? That is the question. I've also heard him said, should I be a murderer or should I not be a murderer? All these types of things. So he asks himself whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. So is it nobler to suffer in my mind all the slings, the arrows, the weapons that fortune is throwing at me, or to take arms? That means literally take up armor, take up weapons, against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. So should I suffer? Should I quietly suffer my mind, or should I try to oppose my problems? Should I end them? And that's exactly the question he's dealing with. Now, that's going to be about his life in general, but it's also about Claudius. Should I suffer this quietly? He asked this earlier. Am I a coward? Am I pigeon-livered? I lack gall. I lack anger. Should I do something? But it could also be his life, saying, hey, should I suffer or should I not suffer? That by opposing end them can refer to Claudius, but it could also refer to his life. I mean, after all, Albert Camus, a French existentialist, he wrote The Stranger, The Plague, these types of books. He asks, he says, hey, philosophy should really only deal with one question. And that question should be, why don't we all kill ourselves? And it's a little crude, and it's not trying to be flippant about suicide. After all, it's a super serious thing. So if you or anyone that you know is struggling with it, absolutely reach out and get the help that you deserve. Because to be or not to be, the answer is always emphatically to be. It is better to live, so please reach out. But what Camus was asking is, what justification do we have to suffer? Because essentially your philosophy needs to provide to you a justification to your suffering. And if your philosophy can't do that, Camus argues, then why don't we just kill ourselves? And he also arrives on the side of it is better to not kill ourselves. His philosophy arrives on the emphatically in the to be category. But this is what Hamlet is wondering. Should he suffer the slings and arrows, the misfortune of fortune, I suppose, or should he take arms against it and end it by ending his life, or perhaps ending Claudius's life? To die, to sleep no more. Right, so to die is simply to sleep, but you're also going to sleep no more. There's double meaning there, right? Dying is just sleeping. It's just as simple as falling asleep. But also, if you die, you'll sleep no more. And by asleep, to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. The flesh, your body, inherits all these shocks and these beatings and this heartache. So when we sleep, when you lose consciousness, then you're no longer experiencing woe or grief. All right, and oftentimes in times of immense sadness, people will try to sleep just to be relieved of the burden of being conscious and awake and experiencing that pain. So he's saying that death is this par excellence. And so he says that 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. A consummation, it is when two things come together at the summit, right? So like you would have a consummation of a marriage is when the husband and wife finally join together. The two become one physically. So when the self and death finally are consummate, all right, that's something that you are devoutly to wish for, because there's no more heartaches, there's no more natural shocks. And that's the question, to be or not to be. Because to be means suffer. Not to be, to sleep. So he says to die, to sleep, these are the same. To sleep, perchance to dream. Perchance means that then there's a chance that there's a dream. Because when you fall asleep at night, if we're gonna stretch this metaphor, if dying is like sleeping, and in sleeping we have dreams, there's the rub, there's the problem, there's the obstacle. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. Shuffle off, literally cast off. When we cast off our mortal coil, is our body. It's mortal because it dies, and its coil, it wraps around us. That must give us pause. That makes us wait. All right? Because as pleasing of a picture, saying, to die is just like sleeping, and then there's not going to be suffering. We don't have to worry about it. He says, but in that sleep, what dreams may come, what comes next, what's going to exist, what's our experience going to be in that sleep? That's the problem. That's why Hamlet doesn't immediately kill himself, or one of the reasons. Because also keep in mind, Hamlet is pretty sure that there is an afterlife. I mean, he met a ghost from purgatory, or possibly a devil from hell. So he's pretty sold on there's something in the afterlife. I don't know exactly what it is. He wasn't allowed to get the details, but he's pretty positive. So, must give us pause. There's the respect. There's the consideration that makes calamity of so long life. So there is the problem that's what makes adversity so long-lived. That's why long life is full of suffering, and that's why we endure through it. That's why long life is sad, is because we can't end it because we don't know what comes afterwards. Especially because suicide was considered a mortal sin up until the 1960s, when the Catholic Church, having psychology catch up, sort of realized, anyone who's committing suicide is not in their right state of mind, so they're not culpable for that action. You're only judged for things that you are in your right mind to choose. All right, so he says there's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, that makes adversity so long, and makes those who have long life just full of calamity. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time whipping you and scorning you? Who could bear the oppressor's wrongs, being oppressed, the proud man's contumely, which is scornful abuse, so a proud man to abuse you, who can bear that? He's listing all the things that, all the struggles and trials that life is full of. Who can bear these things, he asks. The oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, meaning when you love someone despises you, they reject you. That's heartache. That's tough. The law's delay, when the law does not work out the way it should, when there's injustice, we're still mad at that, and people do not want to abide by that, and rightly so. Injustice should be hated. But part of being alive is having to deal with injustice, and who wants to deal with that? Who wants to deal with the insolence of office? This is people who hold public office. Bureaucrats are insolent, and they're stupid, and these types of things. You have to put up with that, too. What else did they put up? And the spurns, these are the kicks and insults, that patient merit of the unworthy takes, meaning that those who are unworthy are making people having to be patient with various spurns and insults. Essentially, getting attacked from all sides. So why be patient? Who can bear this patience when he himself, the patient person, the suffering person, might his quietus make? Quietus make means a paid off account was marked. Quietus s means it is laid to rest. So you can be laid to rest. You can reckon your account with a bare bodkin, which is just a mere dagger. All it takes is a dagger, and then this person does not have to deal with oppressors and the proud men and despised love, law's delay, those who are insolent in office, the spurns from the unworthy. All he has to do to get his quietus, to reckon his account, to rest, is take a bare bodkin, a mere dagger. Who would fardels are just burdens, bear, to grunt in sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns. So who would bear burdens, who would grunt and sweat under life? Just life is labor, you're grunting, you're sweating, it's hard work. So who would bear this, if not for the fact that after life there is death, and death is an undiscovered country, a country that no traveler has returned from its border. So no one's ever come back from death, I guess, aside from Hamlet Sr. in his estimation. But the point is, who would labor and suffer if they knew for certain what was after death? It's only fear of what comes next that stops people from killing themselves in Hamlet's estimation. He says that no traveler returns. This puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. All right, so we will bear the ills that we have, all of the struggles, all the things that he's listened, all the 1,000 natural shocks that the flesh is heir to. I'll stick with those. I'll stick with the problems that I know, instead of killing myself and then flying to problems I don't know, because those may be worse, right? And if it's hell, it's definitely worse, right? Thus, conscience does make cowards. Conscience could be literally the conscience of, I feel bad for the wrong things that I've done, and so it makes me a coward because I don't want to go to hell. But also just consciousness, awareness. Both of these things make cowards. Cowards because they won't kill themselves because they don't know what comes next. And thus, the native hue, the ruddy complexion of resolution, is sickly o'er with the pale cast of thought. Pale cast is pale tint. So when you're resolved to do something, you're going to do it, and you're firm and you're brave. But thinking about what comes next, pales you. You lose your courage, and so you're not going to go through with it. Right? And enterprises of great pitch and moment, which means height and weight, height and importance, with this regard, with this consideration, their currents turn awry. So the current is the direction it's going. It turns awry. It goes a different way. The current that they're going is towards ending the labors and the burdens of life by killing themselves. But with this consideration, thinking about what comes next, what's in the afterlife, it turns the current awry. Soft you now, which just means wait a moment. Soft means but wait, but soft will light through yonder window breaks. Soft you now, the fair Ophelia. He sees Ophelia. Finally, she's been sitting here just reading, and it's up to people how much of this she hears, how much Claudius and Polonius were listening here. This could be entirely internal. But now he's stirred from this. He sees the fair Ophelia. Nymph. A nymph is like a female spirit from Greece. In thy orisons and thy prayers be all my sins remembered. So this could be like maybe like pray for me, remember my sins. But it also could be in your prayers, like it's a profanation of something sacred, right? It could be inserting that, hey, remember my sins when you're in the midst there, but it's probably like being like pray for me, right? And Ophelia says, good, my lord. How does your honor for this many a day? How are you doing? It's like, I humbly thank you. I humbly thank you for asking. Well, so I'm doing well. My lord, I have remembrances of yours that I have longed long to redeliver. Remembrances, things that you have given me to remember you by. So I have things that you have given me that I have longed long. To long for something means to want. So I have long wanted to redeliver, to give back to you. I pray you now receive them, so take them back. And says, no, not I. I never gave you aught. Aught means nothing. So I never gave you anything. We know that's not true, because Polonius had a love letter that Hamlet gave her earlier. Ophelia says, my honored lord, you know right well you did. So he's gaslighting her a little bit, and she's not having it. And with them words of so sweet breath composed as made these things more rich. So you gave me these remembrances, you know you did, and you gave them with words of so sweet breath composed. Sweet breath is what you say, it's how you speak. And if it's sweet, it's nice to hear. And you composed sweet breath. So you said very loving things as you gave them to me, and by them making the gifts more rich, because I can give you a gift, and that's nice, but I make it all the more rich by also giving words to it, especially if I'm courting, right? So it says the perfume lost, that sweet breath is lost. These things no longer have your sweet words, because Hamlet has been really throwing her for a loop. Their perfume lost, take these again, the remembrances. For to the noble mind, rich gifts wax poor, they grow poor, when givers prove unkind. So Hamlet has proven unkind, so his rich gifts have now waxed poor. There, my lord, and he gives them to him. He says, ha ha, are you honest? And that could be honest, being truthful, but also chaste. He's very obsessed with women's chastity. And Ophelia goes, my lord, are you fair? Now, fair, again, could be beautiful, right? That's often how he means it, but also fair could be just, right? So there's sort of a tie-in of virtue, of Ophelia's virtue with her chastity and her sexuality. That if you be honest and fair, you should admit no discourse to your beauty. So if you are honest, being if you are chaste and fair, right, you should admit no discourse to your beauty, meaning no familiar conversation with your beauty. You should not be thinking on your beauty. Could beauty, my lord, have better commerce than with honesty? So if beauty, we're going to personify beauty, could have a better, could it deal with anything more honest? Anything better than honesty? Beauty should be honest, right? It shouldn't be false. And Hamlet answers, I truly, for the power of beauty will sooner transform honesty from what it is to a bawd than the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. So if the two are commercing, all right, then beauty is going to sooner transform honesty from what it is to bawdiness, lowliness, lecherousness, these types of things. I don't know exactly what bawd means. How about I actually look that up real quick? What exactly does bawd mean? In context, it's usually used in this type of manner of when something is bawdy, right? It has to do with the lowest part or edge of something, especially the part on which it. Oh no, that's base. Bawd is a woman in charge of a brothel, right? So it has to do with sort of like low sexuality. So beauty will go from beauty. It'll take honesty from something good and true and pure, especially chastity, and they'll make it bawdy. So you go from chaste to brothel, right? You go from honest and truthful to not truthful. And beauty is going to sooner do that because beauty will corrupt, is what he's saying. So that's why he should have no discourse to his beauty, to her beauty, because her beauty is going to corrupt her. She's going to lose her chastity. She's going to lose her virtue because of how beautiful she is. It says that's sooner going to happen than honesty can translate beauty into his likeness, make beauty honest rather than make honest into bawdiness. This was sometime a paradox, but now the time gives it proof. So remember, sometime means in some time before. So paradox being self-contradictory. So this used to be contradictory, but now the time gives it proof. The present age shows that it is true. I did love you once. Ophelia says, indeed, my lord, you made me believe so. Because he clearly has been courting her quite a bit. So she believed that Hamlet loved her. And then Hamlet says, you should not have believed me. For virtue cannot so inoculate our old stock, but we shall relish of it. Our old stock is original sin, our taste and our liking for doing bad things. And virtue is a good habit, especially towards the virtues, virtuous behavior. Virtue cannot so inoculate, create a cure against that original sin, but we shall relish our evil. We can't do away with it no matter how well trained we are. I loved you not. I was the more deceived. So meaning, I loved you. You made me believe I did. Well, you shouldn't have believed me because I didn't love you. Well, you tricked me. You deceived me. He's being really cruel to her very quick. He says, get thee to a nunnery. Get thee means you should go, you go now to a nunnery. Now, a nunnery is a place where nuns are, a convent. It also could be slang for a brothel, but based on the rest of what he's saying, and based on Hamlet's obsession with female chastity for his mother and Ophelia, it could be nun, or it could probably like a convent. So he's get you to a nunnery. Get out of Denmark and go become a nun. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? A breeder, someone who gives birth to sinners. There's the original sin. So why would you do that? Hamlet's obsessed. Remember earlier he was talking about her being good kissing carrion. Too much in the sun would breed maggots. Maggots would be these sinners. So it's very important that Ophelia remains chaste. Right? The first soliloquy we get is how upset he is at his own mother's lack of chastity. I am myself indifferent, honest. And the note here means that means moderately virtuous. So like honesty being truthful, but also good. I'm indifferent means moderately, not too much one way or another. You could also play as I'm indifferent, honest I am to how chaste you are, whether you marry and breed sinners or not. But what he says next makes more sense to say I'm only moderately virtuous, not too bad, not too good, and yet I could accuse me of such things. So I could accuse me of such things that it were better my mother had not borne me, and that born means carried me, but also given birth to me. Born with an E and born without an E don't usually mean the same thing, but there is kind of a relation there. So I am only a little bad, moderately virtuous, not too good, not awful. And yet the things that I've done, the things that I'm guilty of that I could accuse me of, better I was never born. And that was just the thing that he was just talking about, to be or not to be. So now he's going to list his sins. He says, I'm very proud, revengeful, we know that for certain, ambitious, with more offenses at my back, at my command, than I have thoughts to put them in. So there's more things that I could command than I even have thoughts to fill it. Imagination to give them shape, or time to act them out. What should such fellows as I do, crawling between earth and heaven? So what should I do? We are errant knaves, being complete knaves, complete villains, cowards. Believe none of us. Don't believe men. We're all bad. All the sons of Adam are all bad. We're sinful. I am only indifferent, honest, and I have all these crimes. Go thy ways to a nunnery. So, get away from men. Don't be a breeder of sinners. And this is very cruel. It's very, it's in the midst of all this gaslighting, he's playing games. Is there any ounce of care? That's a good thing to ask yourself, because also he knows what's happening in Denmark. He knows how deep the rot goes all the way to the king. He knows people are being dishonest, and he knows that this is going to probably lead to bloodshed. So is he trying to get her out of the way, but he can't say anything? Another thing you have to ask yourself is how aware is Hamlet that he's being spied on? Some editions will say that he knows it right well, and he's doing this for performance. Some people might say that this is very honest. Some may say that this is more part of his antic disposition. By saying at the beginning that he is going to act like he's crazy, it can be very difficult, especially when he is very temperamental and melancholic already, to know exactly what he's saying and why he's saying it. It's one reason why it's such a spectacular role. So he asks, where's your father? Polonius. Interesting that he's always asking Polonius where Ophelia is, and Ophelia where Polonius is. Ophelia says, at home, my lord. And that's a lie. He's watching. Hamlet, let the doors be shut upon him that he may play the fool nowhere but in his own house. Farewell. Now that could be a dig at Polonius who's watching, or that could just truly be Hamlet's thought. Ophelia, oh, help him, you sweet heavens. Hamlet says, if thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. A dowry like a wedding fee. So this is a plague, a curse I'm giving you, a sickness. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow, thou shalt not escape calumny, sorrow. So even if you do marry and you're chaste as ice and you're as pure as snow, ice is cold, right? And oftentimes passion and inchastity has to do with heat, right? The blood boiling. If you're cold, you're very even-tempered. And pure as snow, you think of snow as white and without stain, right? So even if you are these things, thou shalt not escape calumny, sorrow. Get thee to a nunnery. Farewell. Or, if thou wilt needs marry, marry a fool. For wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. So monsters, this is alluding to a belief that cuckolds grew horns. This is a large joke that more so get played up in the comedies. But there's this lasting anxiety in Shakespeare's age that wives are cheating on their husbands. And if your wife cheats on you, you are cuckolded. You are a cuckold. And there's sort of this folklore belief, how much it was serious or not, doesn't really matter. It's a poetic device, that they grow horns. So if you make monsters of them, you unchaste, villainous, evil women race, Hamlet is obsessed with women's inchastity. He's a very low opinion of them. Freud, eat your heart out. Regardless, you make monsters of them by making them cuckolds, they grow horns. Right? So marry a fool, because he'll never know that you're so unfaithful to him. To a nunnery go, and quickly to farewell. Ophelia's praying, heavenly powers restore him to his sanity. I have heard of your paintings, your cosmetics well enough about your appearance, right? And this is a little bit of a tie back to what he was talking about earlier about the, Claudius was talking about this. They're a little bit closer, Claudius and Hamlet, than maybe Hamlet wants to admit. But Claudius was talking about how the harlot's cheek, beautied with plastering art, is not more ugly the thing that helps it than is my deed to my most painted word. And I was talking about your paintings, your cosmetics. I have heard of your paintings well enough. God hath given you one face, and you make yourselves another. So he would see this as a sin. You're a liar, right? You're besmirching God's creation because he gave you your face, and then you completely change it with cosmetics. You jig and amble and you lisp. That just simply means that you dance or sing, walk with an affected easy gait. It's affectedly, meaning you're putting it on. You don't have an easy gait. It's all a ruse. When you lisp, you speak artificially. You nickname God's creatures, meaning that you use new and fashionable names instead of God-given names. So you nickname God's creatures and make your wantonness ignorance. You play dumb to excuse your seductive affectations. These are all things that women are doing to seduce men, to trap them. But you have all of your designs, Ophelia. You got your liars and you're unholy, and the whole thing's awful. Go to means like go. It's an expression of impatience. I'll no more on it. It hath made me mad. So now he claims that his madness is about just women in general and how they act and how they treat in their relationship with chastity and sexuality. Again, Freud, eat your heart out, especially when we consider that the first woman he's so mad at, and the one he absolutely cannot abide by, is his own mother. He's got some mommy issues. I say we will have no more marriage. Those that are married already, all but one, shall live. Who do you think that all but one is? Probably the one that, probably Claudius, the one who's married his mother, the one that he is the most mad at, has most cause against for marrying his mother, for taking the king, but killing is his father, right? So those who were married already, all but one shall live. The rest shall keep as they are. Right? And this is also a reference to St. Paul's letter, I believe. At one point, he's counseling people. He says, hey, getting married is not a sin. If you're married, stay married. But if you're not married, I recommend don't get married. So that means like, hey, if you're married already, stay the course. I'm not going to kill you. That's Hamlet's words. Paul's certainly not going to kill people. But he says, the rest, keep as you are. He says, I want to spare you that trouble. It's better to not get married so you can focus on the important things. And Hamlet seems to agree with that. And finally, he says, to a nunnery, go. Exit. So what to make of this? It's a complicated scene. Is he lying? Does he know he's being watched? Are these his true feelings? Why is this all against Ophelia? Is it about his mom? What all's wrapped up in here? Is he trying to secretly get her out of Elsinore? Good questions. However, my job is just to help you understand the text. You got to do that deep dive yourself, or with your English class or book club. But hey, that's where the fun is, so debate away, and let us keep going. So Hamlet's gone, and Ophelia is going to lament this. She's a really good person. She's just gotten this beratement, and she's going to pray for her enemies. Very, very virtuous. Oh, what a noble mind is here o'erthrown. So his mind is overthrown. He's gone mad. And his mind was really smart. I mean, he has the reputation for being brilliant. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern affirm this. So the courtiers, soldiers, he's a courtier's mind, a soldier's mind, scholar's eye, tongue, sword, the expectation, the hope meaning, and rose of the fair state. So the fair state of Denmark had hopes in him. He was the flower of it, right? Because he'd be a pretty good king if he wasn't so depressed and maybe too smart for his own good and hell-bent on revenge. But he'd be a good king, probably. He's very brilliant. The glass of fashion, meaning the looking glass, the mirror of fashion. He's always the most fashionable. And the mold of form, meaning the pattern of decorum. The observed of all observers, quite down. So Hamlet is all these great things, and he is quite down. He has fallen low. His mind has been overthrown. And I of ladies most deject and wretched, that sucked the honey of his musicked vows. So I'm the most dejected, I'm the most wretched because of my situation. I sucked the honey of his musicked vows. His musicked vows were songs of love. And I sucked the honey out of it because they were sweet. And it means she believed it. She ate up his words. Probably she loved him too. Now see what noble and most sovereign reason, like sweet bells jangled out of time and harsh. So he sees that noble and most sovereign reason is what should rule. Reason should be the king of the body. It's noble. It's most sovereign, like sweet bells jangled out of time and harsh. So when reason has fallen, it's like when bells, which should sound sweet, are harsh and out of tune. It sounds bad. It creates a clamor. That unmatched form and stature of blown youth blasted with ecstasy. That unmatched form, right? He is the most perfect man. His form is unmatched. And he's the stature of blown youth, fully blossomed youth. All the potential. He's blasted, meaning withered, with ecstasy, with madness. Oh, woe is me to have seen what I have seen. See what I see. Finally, King and Polonius come forward. And they're not the most concerned with Ophelia right off the bat. She's just been traumatized, verbally abused by Hamlet. Love, his affections do not that way tend, nor what he spake, though it lacked form a little, was not like madness. So he's like, no, he's not in love. Love, that's not why he's sick. His affectations, his emotions do not that way tend, not towards love. He's certainly not love sick for her, nor what he spake. What he spake and spoke just mean the same. What he spoke doesn't lean towards love. It lacked form a little, meaning it was a little out of form, but it was not like madness. There's something in his soul o'er which his melancholy sadness sits on brood. And I do doubt, meaning fear, the hatch and the disclosing of it will be some danger. So he says, no, he's not mad. He's upset about something. And I'm afraid that the hatching, the opening of it, the disclosing of it to the public can be a problem. Which, to prevent this disclosing, I have in quick determination thus set it down. So I've quickly determined that this is what's going to happen. He shall with speed to England. So he's going to go to England. They're in Denmark. Right? It's easy to forget because it's Shakespeare, but this play takes place in Denmark. We're going to send him to England for the demand of our neglected tribute. So long time ago when England had to pay tribute to Denmark, Hamlet sent Hamlet to go collect that money. Great. Haply the seas and countries different with variable objects, with objects that are different there than here, shall expel this something settled matter in his heart, whereon his brains still beating puts him thus from fashion of himself. So his brains still beating puts him away from himself, from fashion of himself. He's not like himself. And hopefully this varied country, these varied things will distract him, get him out of it, and snap him out of it and bring him back to himself. What think you on it? So completely ignoring Ophelia. And maybe they're talking somewhere else, so maybe it's okay. Maybe he's not quite so bad. I mean, he's the murderer, after all. So he asks Polonius, what think you on it? Now, he fears that the hatch and disclose will be some danger to him. Maybe this is where he starts to think that Hamlet might be on to him. Or at the very least, he has a guilty conscience. We know this. So maybe he's just paranoid, saying he knows something. It's making him act weird. I hope it's not this. How could he know? But still, I don't know. It's dangerous. Better send him away. Yes, Polonius, what you think on it? It shall do well, meaning this plan of yours will do well to send him away. But yet, I do believe the origin and commencement, so the source and the continuing of his grief, sprung from neglected love, meaning that Ophelia has neglected. I still think that it's because his love wasn't returned, because he's an idiot. How now, Ophelia? So how are you now, Ophelia? You need not tell us what Lord Hamlet said. We heard it all. Now back to... And then he actually doesn't really give her time to respond. He turns back to the king. My lord, do as you please. But if you hold it fit after the play... So the play that the players are going to perform, remember they just heard about this, it's going to happen tonight. After the play, later tonight, let his queen mother all alone entreat him to show his grief. Go send the mom to ask, say what's wrong. Tell me what's wrong. Why are you grieving? Let her be round with him, meaning like blunt with him, and I'll be placed, so please you, in the ear of all their conference. So I'm going to go spy again. I'll be earshot to listen to what they say. Polonius loves his spying. If she find him not, meaning she finds not the reason for why he's mad, to England send him, or can find him where your wisdom best shall think. King likes this. Claudius says, it shall be so. Madness in great ones must not unmatched go. So madness in great ones should not be left alone. And he's a great one because he's a prince. He's next in line for the throne. So if he's mad, we cannot let this settle. So if he's mad or if there's some great cause, Claudius has to give it his attention. So that's what they're going to do. After the play, Gertrude, you go talk to him, figure it out. And if it doesn't work, send him away. Hopefully that'll knock him out of it. So that is Act 3, Scene 1. Pretty famous scene. We have to get thee to a nunnery exchange, and we have to be or not to be. It's only ramping up. We're up for another long one. We're going to see the play happen. So plans within plans, counter plans and counter plans. Let's see how it all works out in Denmark next time.